Hey everybody, I'm Cameron Bailey. I'm the artistic director and co-head of TIFF, and I'm here at home. I'm staying at home, and I'm here for the very first stay at home cinema. This is live. We're presenting The Princess Bride tonight all across Canada on Crave, and we've got a special guest coming up in a few minutes, and that is Mandy Patinkin, who plays Inigo Montoya in the film, and you'll remember his famous catchline, "Hello, my name is." I have a couple of things I want to say before we get started. You've heard of the phrase flattening the curve. That's slowing down the spread of the virus by practicing safer hygiene and staying indoors. And when you are out, you try to keep at least 6 feet distance from everyone else that you might encounter. That's roughly the length of a hockey stick, which should make sense to all of us Canadians. So I just want to encourage all of us to do that. And while we're at home, we wanted to be able to watch movies. So we want to watch this movie together. We're going to kick it off with an intro soon from Mandy Patinkin. But first, I want to thank the people who made all of this possible, beginning with Randy Lennox, who is a remarkable individual, the head of Bell Media. And it was really he and his team that got this all started when we brought the idea and we started working this out with them. So big thanks to Randy Lennox, everyone at Bell, also our other partners at TIFF, including RBC, L'Oreal Paris, and Visa, and all of our supporters in the government of Ontario, the City of Toronto, and the Government of Canada. And we're all paying a lot of attention these days to what the government's telling us in terms of how to stay safe. Because we're showing this movie all across Canada tonight, I also want to acknowledge and to thank our First Nations, the Inuit and Métis people who have been on this land, taken care of this land, and are sharing it with all Canadians. And I want to just acknowledge that we are on Indigenous land. I also want to just acknowledge all the stories that Indigenous Canadians have brought us, and we're hoping to do a lot more of those films that are coming out of Indigenous film scenes all across Canada later on this year. We're sharing a great classic story with you tonight. The Princess Bride made its premiere on September 18th, 1987, almost 33 years ago, at the Toronto Film Festival. It was called the Festival of Festivals back then. That was the first public screening of that movie. It went on to become a much-loved classic. I can't tell you how many times I've seen it, but it's something that began there and now is something that I think a lot of us can quote by heart. Now I want to bring in, and I hope I'm able to do this properly, so I want to bring in one of the stars of the film, Mandy Patinkin. He is an incredible actor, singer, performer, Tony Award winner, Emmy Award winner, and he joined a cast that included Cary Elwes, Wright, and many, many others. The film's directed by Reiner, and we're so glad to have Mandy with us. Let me see if I can pull him into the conversation now. Mandy Patinkin, are you with us? This may take a moment. Let me see if I can put this over here so I don't have to hold it through the... Mandy, hello.
Hey, did I do it right?
You did it right. How are you?
Yeah. Good. How are you?
I'm good. You are in New York, I understand. Thank you so much. I know New York is going through a hard time. I really appreciate your sharing this incredible movie with us all across Canada.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here, and it's certainly a time we all need to be together all over the world and think of each other and celebrate life. And I remember years ago I asked Rob Reiner, I was trying to write something and I'm not a writer, and my teacher said, what's that one line, one sentence you can use to describe the work you're doing or the part you're playing? And I said, Rob, what would you say for The Princess Bride? It's about so many things. And Rob said it's easy. The most important, a little boy gets sick, grandpa comes over to read him a story to tell him that the most important thing in life is true love. And I can't imagine a more potent time all over the world where we need to embrace true love, both for the love of life, for living our lives healthily. The smartest thing I heard is to treat yourself as though you have the virus and everyone you meet has the virus. That way you'll be careful and thoughtful and practice safe distance and keep this catastrophe to a minimum.
Yeah, agreed. We're now telling people to keep the distance that is roughly the distance of a hockey stick, which seems to resonate all across Canada. That makes sense for us.
Right. I also heard you mention the Indigenous people of Canada. Before we get to talking about the joys of The Princess Bride, I want people also to think about refugees everywhere. I work closely with the International Rescue Committee, and David Miliband, who's the CEO of International Rescue Committee, made a speech the other day on PBS saying that we have to take care of these most vulnerable people in these refugee camps. There's 80 million refugees in the world right now. It's growing every day. And it's imperative that we take care of everyone and find a way to make sure they get the attention they need. This is a global crisis, and you can't leave some pocket of society untouched. Everyone must be helped and cured if at all possible. So we all must work together. And if anyone has a nickel, a dime, a penny, or $1 million to donate to the International Rescue Committee, they're trying to raise $30 million to save almost 80 million lives.
Thank you for that, Mandy. I think if anything good comes out of this, it may be that we're all more aware of this, the fragility of human life and how we're all in this together. So thank you for that.
I agree. Thank you for letting me be here.
Of course. Now, I want to go back nearly 33 years ago when the film premiered at the Toronto Film Festival.
Let me put some hair back on my head if we're going that far back.
It was just yesterday. I want to ask you just what memories you have, if any, of when it premiered. I understand not everybody got what the film was because it was playing with genre at the time. But what do you remember of bringing The Princess Bride into the world?
Well, I remember in 1986, I was sitting almost exactly where I'm sitting right now. I had just finished reading the script, and Rob Reiner called me and said, "What part would you like to play?" And I said without hesitation, I'd love to play Inigo Montoya.
You had your choice of parts, actually.
Well, he asked me at that time,
Fantastic.
He said, "Let me see how the casting goes and who we get for the other parts, because everybody has to match with everybody else." And but that's what I said to him on day one, and it came to fruition.
Why did you choose Inigo Montoya?
The minute I read it, I just thought to myself that if I could play Inigo Montoya, and if I could get that six-fingered man, that he was the cancer that killed my father. Oh. And in the world of my imagination, if I could get that fictional cancer called the Six-Finger Man, my father would come back to life to visit me.
Your father
I so remember outside that castle before I had the final scene with Christopher Guest, where I gave it to him. There was these beautiful gardens. It was an English castle, and there were these gardens outside, kind of like a maze. Mm-hmm. And I walked around that for almost an hour while they were lighting the scene. And I was talking to my father, and I said, "Dad, in a few minutes, I'm going to get this bad guy, and then we're going to take a walk together."
That's fantastic. That's amazing. What else do you remember from the shoot? Being on set, all those incredible comedians in the cast, and some great actors. What was it like on the set with The Princess Bride?
Well, I felt I should have paid them for the privilege. I'll never forget the very first day I walked in a room. It was a little just boring hallway in some kind of office building. And I was sitting in this one room in a corner. I came around the corner and I walked into this room, and André the Giant was sitting in the couch. And I said hi, and I knew that we had to bond because we were going to spend the next 4 to 6 months together. And he was just enormous. He was exactly what William Goldman wrote in the screenplay. He was a landmass. But the thing I remember most was the next day. I walked in the room the next day, and he looked small. And I said to Rob, the minute I had a moment alone with him, I said, "Was Andre wearing prosthetics and padding and some sort of, stuff that made him look enormous?" He said, "No, yesterday. I meant yesterday." He said, "No. Why?" I said, because he looked so much smaller today. And I realized immediately that our brains immediately adjust something that's unfamiliar to something familiar right away, so that we're comfortable. And because he looked normal to me on the second day, and the first day took my breath away. And then we became good friends, and we're together every minute, had breakfast every morning. He would eat like 4 to 6 plates of eggs, and the fork in his hand looked like a little toothpick, and he was just the true definition of a gentle giant. And then there was Billy Crystal, who was making 13th century period jokes for 10 hours a day for 3 days straight, and that's the only time I got an injury that I've talked about many times, because I got the injury holding my laughter in, because when I was on camera, I was standing next to the camera. The camera was here. I was right next to it. And Billy was, on the, we were shooting Billy. Well, Rob would start laughing and leave the room. He couldn't handle it. And Billy had cataract contact lenses in, and so he couldn't see. And I was just in agony trying not to laugh out loud, because if I laughed out loud, I would have ruined the take.
That's incredible. Let me ask you about Cary Elwes and Wright, very young actors at the time. Robin, of course, went on to do so many more things, as did Carrie. What were they like as young actors on the set?
They were kids. She'd never done anything before. It was her first. She was a model, I believe, at the time, I think in France or somewhere in Europe. She was just a dreamboat, just so delightful and such a sweetheart. And Carrie was very serious and very concerned about learning the sword fight and doing the work. And he came from a family of the movie business. I think his stepfather or something, I forget the exact lineage, is related to it all. And I think they had a little love affair, during it. I'm not 100% sure, but it seemed that way to me,
Well, it looks that way on camera, but we're not the ones to say.
Yeah. I wasn't sure. I didn't ask, but I thought that's what was going on. I was hoping that's what was going on. And they were just delightful and dreamboats to work with. Everyone was. It was one of the highlights of my professional life. I mean, truly, and to this day, that you call me and say, can we talk to you? Because at a moment like this in the history of the world, we're trying to make people feel good. And I got to be in a movie written by William Goldman that was a gift to all of us. And any day that somebody comes up to me and says, can you say the line or this or that? I literally say to myself, I can't believe I got to be in this thing.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Incredible. I mean, how's that happen?
I want to ask you about the sword fight, which is really one of the legendary sword fights. And, at that time, we would have grown up with movies on TV with Errol Flynn and others, but we hadn't seen a sword fight like this that you have with Westley. Can you tell us about that? That must have taken a lot of time to prepare.
Sure. I remember I trained for, I trained for, I think, 2 months with Henry Hartunian, who is the Yale Olympic fencing coach. And we were about to have a big celebration for his life next month. And like everything, it was postponed. And Henry met with me at 890 Studios on Broadway, the old Michael Bennett studios. And we worked for 2 months, I think it was 2 months. And I'm a righty. And he first trained me to be a left-handed sword fighter.
Right, that's part of the great trick of the scene.
Yeah, he worked my left hand, and he taught me, when you do stage sword fencing, it's the opposite of competition fencing. In competition fencing, it's literally like Star Wars. Let the force be with you. You have to sense the other man's move, and just you have to think it. It's just it's a mind game, and you don't even see it. In stage fencing and film fencing, you telegraph what you're going to do, both to the camera, to the audience. You let them see, I'm coming for your head, right. I'm coming for a side swipe. And so they're ballet moves. There's first position, second position, etc. And so he taught me that language, and we drilled it every day for 2 months. And then I went over to England and worked with Bob Anderson, the great fencing master, the British Olympian, and we worked for 4 months. Now, Carrie, as you know, if you're familiar with the film, he's in his scenes with Robin while I'm in my scenes with André and Wally Shawn.
Right.
So we didn't work together most of the time until we got to the sword fight stuff. And so we would work at lunch. So all day long, when Carrie was shooting something, I would work for 8 to 10 hours a day with Bob Anderson for 4 months. And at lunchtime, we would eat our lunch really fast, and that's when we would work together during lunchtime. So we never took a break, or we were young, so we didn't need naps like I need today. And that's how Chris Guest and Carrie and I rehearsed it at lunchtime. And then 4 months into it, we put all the major sword fights at the end of the film. So by that time, we had about 6 months. But the highlight moment for me, and I think Carrie as well, was we were on the main set doing the main sword fight. We'd been shooting it for days. And then Rob said, okay, guys, we'd covered it. We'd had all the shots. He said, I want to put 2 cameras up on the ceiling and do it one more time all the way through, not in pieces. Are you guys up for that? Now, before we did that, though, I forgot one other thing. We had the sequence going up the stairs where I changed it to my left hand. Now, we choreographed this, and Bob Anderson was a very proper Englishman, and it wasn't working for the camera. And Rob was saying the choreography we worked on for 4 months wasn't working with the camera. And I said, well, Bob, tell Rob. He said, oh, no, I can't. That would be inappropriate. I said, inappropriate? You're the guy. You're the man, Tell him. So he tells him, I finally talk him to tell him, and we re-choreographed, Bob and Carrie and I, re-choreographed that whole sequence that goes up the steps where we change hands in 20 minutes. And the thrill of that was we'd learned the craft of what we were doing over those 6 months so well that we were able to, on a dime, redo everything that we drilled and drilled and drilled a different way. And that, for me, was the most thrilling moment, that we actually learned another language and another skill. Then Rob said, let me put those cameras up on the ceiling. And he put those 2 cameras. We ran the whole thing. And the hardest thing for me doing the sword fight, every single shot, every master shot, every part of the sequence, was every time Rob Reiner would say, cut, print, we got it. Because that meant that we might not be doing that part ever again.
Well, you made it look effortless. It's really such a beautiful scene.
Oh, I loved it. I can still do the moves today.
Seriously? Okay.
Oh,
when we meet in person, when this is all over, I hope we can do a little bit of that. Just a couple more questions. We've got some questions from, I'll do one from a member of TIFF. This is from Farishta Wahadi. And she says, how do you view the character of Inigo Montoya differently today than you did 30 years ago?
I have a great moment to share with you. I don't know how many years ago. Oh, I do know. It was 2007. I was in a hotel on an elliptical trainer, working out before a concert that I was going to do with Patti LuPone. And on the elliptical was The Princess Bride on the movie screen, but the sound was off because I run the lyrics for my concert that night. I finish my training and I go up to the hotel room. My wife is sitting there and the TV is on, and the Princess Bride's on the TV, and now the sound is on. Right at that moment, when Robin had just jumped out the window into André the Giant's arms, and Inigo is standing next to Westley, and Westley asks if Inigo wants to be the next Dread Pirate Roberts. And Inigo says to Westley, and now keep in mind, Mandy is about 34 years old at that time. Mm-hmm. And 34-year-old Mandy said the lines that he learned and worked on, but really didn't know what he was saying. And he said these lines, which are my favorite lines in the movie. And I didn't realize it till I was almost 50-some years old. And I think it's the greatest thing William Goldman ever wrote. And it's the words, I have been in the revenge business so long. Now that it's over, I do not know what to do with the rest of my life. And I think the answer to that question at this moment in our lives is to live. Because people say, What do you do if you're a workaholic, and what do you do when you retire? It's called living.
Yeah.
And we need to
Beautiful.
live now more than ever and enjoy every second and try not to be afraid, because your immune system stays strong if you're not frightened. So do whatever you can, watch movies, laugh, talk to friends,
I love that.
FaceTime,
Yes.
and fight the fear, because you want that immune system to be like $1,000,000.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. Mandy, we all need more joy in our life right now. And one of the things that gives me joy is that great line, the catchphrase that your character has in the movie. Would you share it with us? Would you do a little bit of Inigo Montoya with that famous line?
You bet. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
I love it. Love it. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. We're going to get ready to watch the movie now. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us today.
And most important, everybody, have fun.
Absolutely. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, we're wrapping up, guys. And I'll say goodbye to Mandy now. I hope I did that right. Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to start it at 7:30 Eastern time. That's 4:30 on the Pacific Coast if you're out there. And we want to keep the conversation going if we can. We're going to be on Twitter using the hashtag TIFFathome. So please share your thoughts as you watch the movie. Get yourself a snack. Do what you got to do before the movie starts. Let's try and get it started at 7:30 Eastern, and we'll watch the movie together. I'll be online. TIFF.net will be online, and we'll share the joy of The Princess Bride. See you then.